Okay,
Okay,
we are good to go. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Attorney. My name is Blair Clark, and I am here with Mr. David Sobel. David, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Blair. Thank you. How are you doing?
Doing really well.
Good, good.
Really well. It is a beautiful day. It's the middle of the afternoon. David and I usually record in the evening, so we're a little more fresh today.
Yeah.
Probably going to be less giggles in this video than usual.
Well, let's hope. One can only hope.
Right. But either way, what we do is David's law firm collects questions throughout the week. His clerks put them together, and then we bring the questions and the answers to you, to the viewer, just on general real estate law. So David, if you want to, for the viewer, just give us a quick rundown. What exactly do you do as a real estate attorney? What services do you provide? And then how can the viewer reach out to you if they need to contact you?
Well, what we actually do as real estate attorneys is, and you've heard this so many times, so bear with me. First, we basically protect our clients going into transactions, and but more often than not, because we deal with the public and quite a few people who are very smart people, like to do things on their own or use the internet as their guide without any legal advice. They use forums, or they take outside chatter as legal advice. So more often than not, we're cleaning up after what we call legal vomit, and from smart people. So we're real estate and contract attorneys who are either protecting our clients up front, prophylactically, which is the way I prefer to do business, or we are handling the cleanup, and that may involve, most often, unfortunately, litigation. So we do a lot of real estate and contract litigation. We handle financial disputes related to contracts, financial disputes related to real estate, and then also probate. So that's what we do. We do that in 2 different states throughout the state of Ohio, as well as my main area, which is Michigan. And we're located in Farmington Hills, and we also have an office in Beechwood, Ohio, which is Northeast Ohio. And I can be reached at 888-789-1715, or you can go to provenresource.com, or you can go to our YouTube page. All you have to do is type in my name, David Sobel, S-O-B-L-E. In fact, all you have to do is type my name into a URL, whatever your search engine is, and our firm should show up. And that's it. That's how you reach us.
Yes, and when you type it in, viewer, make sure you type in S-O-B-L-E.
Yeah.
I recently learned that there is an S-O-B-E-L law. There is a Sobel law, but it's E-L. So don't
I think
make
he's a criminal attorney, if I recall.
I'm not sure. I didn't click on it. I was just I was looking up some legally, and then you popped up, and then also this other attorney popped up. So I thought that
I think that gentleman is actually an entertainment law lawyer, from what I remember, out of Arizona.
Gotcha.
All right. Anyways, it's entertaining enough what I do, so.
I'm sure. Isn't that something? I'll go Google what is entertainment law later, and I'm sure it'll be very entertaining.
Sports and entertainment, I think, is what he does.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. All right. Well, let's jump into the questions for today. We've got a good, solid, well-rounded list here. So our very first question is from BN in Richland, Michigan. And BN writes in saying, I am buying a home. The seller trustee had a life estate, and they were allowed to sell the property during their lifetime. However, they died after they signed the purchase contract. Does this bind the trust beneficiaries? From BN in Richland. So what I am taking is they have not yet closed on this property. So they're still in the pending process. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually quite a complicated file. But the essence, I like to always distill as best I can what the issue is. The issue is the life estate. A life estate basically generally is that somebody has the right to a piece of property, to use it as what we call a fee simple property, which means to use it as if it's their own throughout their lifetime. But when they die, that property and all the rights that go through it and that flow through that individual revert back usually to the grantor. In this situation, the grantor was the trust. So the trust gave this individual a life estate. And now that this individual died, that property comes back to the trust. That's basically the essence of the file. Now, or the problem. Now, why they reached out to us, we actually, these people engaged us. The argument is, while there wasn't a closing, there is actually a purchase agreement, and the agreement is to sell the property. The powers that this individual was given through the trust during his life estate was to actually be able to sell the property. So during his life, he could actually sell it. Now, the problem here could be several issues. Number one, naming something a life estate, it's really the substance of what the powers are of this individual. A life estate doesn't allow somebody to really sell property during their lifetime. The whole idea is that when they die, the property goes back to the body of the trust, is what we say, or to the asset which belongs to the trust. So I really do believe, and the argument would be that this individual who sold the property to BN really just is the owner of this property. And whoever wrote this language earlier made a mistake, because you can't give somebody a life estate and then also give them the right to sell the property. So that's one issue. The other issue is that we have a purchase agreement that has been signed by both parties. If it can be shown that this individual really did have the right to sell the property, and he's died during the transaction, but there is a signature, et cetera, from both sides, and everybody is working towards a closing, and this part happens quite often. There'll be a provision in the purchase offer, depending on who wrote the agreement,
right,
that says that the rights to the contract inure, or they flow back to the beneficiaries of either the buyer or the seller, so that heirs to the individual who perhaps passed away, whether it be the buyer or the seller, still have rights to be, it's enforceable against their estate. That's basically what it means. So we're going to take the position that this is a regular purchase offer, and that the parties, unfortunately, this individual, the seller, passed away, and his estate, or in this situation, the trust, is bound to complete this transaction. And whatever the trust calls this seller, giving him a life estate, but then allowing the individual who has this life estate to sell and what we call alienate the property, they're not consistent. It's not a consistent legal obligation or legal right. Okay. So it should be interesting. Well, it's going to be in probate, and we're going to see what the courts say. It's unfortunate for all parties involved, but the jury, unfortunately, is going to be out on this one, right? It seems simple enough, but hopefully the people who are following this at home, if you're following it at home, there's two elements. There's a probate element. There's actually an estate planning element. And then there's also just the real estate transaction element. And this is what we deal with, Blair, on a regular basis is, people think we work in a vacuum. It's only real estate. No, it's real estate. How does it relate to a contract? How does it relate to a probate? How does it relate to estate planning? I deal with a lot of senior issues, senior estate planning issues. And we're seeing more and more of this now, because of the aging population, and they all have real estate. I mean, the biggest transfer of wealth is going to be happening in the next 20 years. And one of the most valuable assets that most people have is their property, their real estate. And so we get involved in these matters on a regular basis. So yes, we're real estate lawyers, but we deal with the real estate and the probate. The real estate and the contracts, the real estate and the estate planning, the real estate and business. Businesses buy real estate, right? Mm-hmm. So this is a tough file, but for BN in Richland, I can't say their name, this happens to be, we're going to stick it out. We're going to stick it out with them, and they want the home, and they're going to get it. We're going to make sure of it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a good question. And obviously no party enters a contract thinking that they will die before it's executed, but things happen. And so Exactly. If you are using a purchase agreement to purchase property, you want to make sure that it is current and in alignment with your state law, and that it's been drafted recently by an attorney who practices in your state, and you want to make sure that that provision is in there so that if anything happens to either party, God forbid, it's not just about you, either the buyer or the seller, but it's about the party on the other side. So you want to make sure that that contract that you entered, you're able to fulfill it, regardless of that status. So things happen,
Right.
so you make sure that you have that covered. Because the purchase agreement can be a very, very simple document, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't
Depends
be.
what you're trying to accomplish, right?
Mhm.
Real estate investors like yourselves like to have more simple contracts because they want to wiggle out of stuff.
Yeah.
Should they need to, wiggle out. But it's, and we see this quite often because I deal with a lot of real estate investors and
Mhm.
house flippers and landlord wannabes, etc. That's okay. But, the more pared down a contract is, your rights are limited, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways,
Yep.
that's another topic. But yeah, this was for the first question to start out the day. That was a tough file,
Yeah.
So feel bad for everybody involved. But actually, I feel bad for whoever drafted the trust. How about that? And we'll leave it at that.
All right. Well, good luck to BN from Rich.
Yeah.
Let's move to